This is the Batflip Podcast. Now here's your host, Damien, David, and Matt. Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of the Batflip Podcast. Damien, David, and Matt here with you tonight. We're going to be recapping the winter meetings and all the subsequent moves that have happened basically around or since then. Our last live show was December 1st.
Yep.
So we've had plenty of moves happen by then. We've had some quick hitter episodes, some quick flips of some big name signings of Devin Williams, Kyle Schwarber, Edwin Diaz, Pete Alonso, Robert Suarez. If you've missed those, go check those out. We won't talk about much about those in this episode. But before we get to what we are talking about, David, how are we doing this week?
Doing all right. Got went on a little mini vacation this weekend. That was pretty nice. Had to drive in the snow. It's been like negative degrees in Chicago, so that's a little less fun. But overall, getting good. It's ready for Christmas. Winter meetings are done in terms of baseball stuff, so it's a lot of free agents out there. Some of the stuff got done, but I feel like overall, man, there's still a whole lot that still has to get knocked out here over the next couple of months. With Christmas coming around the corner, I think that activity will slow way down again. So, I'm not real excited that maybe the winter meetings were a touch underwhelming, I would say. But what about you, Matt?
Doing pretty good. It's been an interesting week. Been just kind of same old. Enjoying some football, enjoying some baseball signings that have actually happened over the last week, which it had been really slow to start off. And over this last week, it's been the winter meetings are always a time where you see some stuff. It's been fun to see my team doing some things. So that's been good, but yeah, and just getting ready for Christmas. It's coming up, and hopefully enjoying the holidays here soon. So that'll be good. And how are you, Damien?
I'm doing good. As good as a fan of a football team that had a 44-year-old quarterback starting for it this week can be. That was an experience, but love me some Uncle Phil, or I guess we should call him Grandpa Phil at this point.
He went past Unc and now he's Gramps.
Yeah, he's a legit Gramps out there. I'm doing all right though. I mean, I missed the one Quick Flips episode last week that happened to deal with my team because I was at my work Christmas party of all things. But I like you mentioned the winter meetings, which is a question I want to kind of bring up to you guys because I've been having this discussion in Discords and stuff too. Two things: have the winter meetings fallen off, and or have we just become accustomed to expecting too much during the winter meetings? Because it is also worth noting they did shrink them a day or shorten them a day, basically. The Rule 5 draft used to happen on Thursday. Everyone stayed until then. Now it happens Wednesday. Everyone checks out Wednesday morning. They're on the planes by midday Wednesday, going back to wherever their home base is from. But we did get Kyle Schwarber, Edwin Diaz, and Pete Alonso technically at the winter meetings this year. So have they fallen off, or have we become accustomed to expect too much?
I would say it's less that they've fallen off, more that there's no actual deadline at the winter meetings, right? I think the spur to action potentially could be a hold on transactions for players from the winter meetings through the new year to kind of force some action during the offseason. I think that the biggest hurdle is that teams don't have to do anything at the winter meetings. And there's no urgency to finish up your offseason deals in this time, where you could theoretically have a very wild week. It ends up being wild based on which players become available. I mean, last year at the winter meetings, Kyle Tucker moved, right? So there was a lot more action last year. There's been more action in years past. There's been a fluctuation of action from year to year. I mean, we still had a lot of signings get hit, but those signings were kind of expected, being worked on, rumored. A lot of big fish are still out there unrumored. I think the lack of a deadline within this MLB offseason really hinders the action. I don't know what the solution is, because just telling teams to stop transacting is a little clunky. But that's kind of how football and NBA free agency work, right? It's all the action occurs in one day. It'd be nice to get let's build towards a trade deadline type of culmination where the transactions are then completed and everybody's signed and ready to go for the new year. I don't know what that is. There might be some
Yeah.
there might be something else to do there, but
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense, and I wonder if that's something that kind of gets put into the new CBA, because that really helps the teams and the players, because for the players, like there's a risk every year that they wait and then they just don't end up getting signed until halfway through the season. I mean, we've seen this happen a bunch of times before. And then, from the team standpoint, I'm sure they'd like to know early on exactly what they're going to be able to do. How they need to fill out the remaining parts of their roster come spring training. And obviously you would still have options on guys who didn't get signed but I see what you're saying with that. And I think part of the reason the winter meetings have fallen off a little bit too is it's just so easy to get face to face with people now via stuff like Zoom calls. And it's, I know a lot of franchises and owners and GMs in the past have really liked to really get to know somebody face to face before signing them. And the winter meetings were a big part of that because everyone would be in the same spot. But now it's like, you can just Zoom call someone at, 2 PM on a random Thursday in the winter and have the same conversation face to face that you would have on, at the winter meetings. So I think that's a big part of it too. I don't know. It's going to be, it's something that I think it would be good for baseball in some ways to have some kind of deadline, like David's talking about, to build up some excitement. But at the same time, I mean, people who are diehard baseball fans are probably the only ones that are going to care a ton about that. Yeah. And, I don't think that diehard baseball fans are going to quit watching baseball because there's people signing in January and December. Like it's a slow trickle of news. It's just a consequence of the sport. Right. And, a lot of it has to do with the lack of, lack of salary cap and just, the teams, trying to figure out exactly how high they go. There's a lot more negotiating power for players in baseball. That's another big thing about it, that it makes these signings last longer. So we'll see if something happens. I think the CBA would probably be the time for that to happen, but sure. and they might come to an agreement on both sides for that being a better solution. So.
Yeah, one side's going to use that as leverage to get something really big they want for some reason. Yeah, that's just what they're going to do.
Yeah, well, I'd say that there might be something for both sides to like.
Yeah,
that both
no,
sides
I know,
like.
but I don't think.
I know what you mean. Though.
I think the owners are probably more in favor of it. I don't know if the players would be as much because it is more of a down period for them, really.
Maybe take it or leave it kind of deals. Yeah, I think it's more of a pro owner item, but
and I don't know if
I like the trickle, honestly.
No, the trickle's fine. I have thought about stuff like what you're talking about, David, with like, hey, after winter meetings to beginning of the year, that like 2 to 3 week period could just be a dead period. And you might not notice it as much, right? Like you do have that kind of quick flurry. Again, it's an interesting conversation because it's something like I've been having with people. And I think those two things have kind of said like, well, people are like, oh, well, it's fallen off. And the other ones are like, well, we've just come to be expect too much from the winter meetings, basically, because that used to be the big time. Now that big time can be any day of the week, basically. Mm-hmm. You still do get some. Obviously, like I said, we got 3 big signings there this year. But MLB, put the Rule 5 draft back to Thursday. Yeah. Give us an extra day there. Because there were some hot rumors like Skubal, Marte, Gore, everyone was like, oh, those 3 guys are going to go almost during the meetings. And it's like, after the meetings have ended, it's like, all right, nothing's happening. It's like, well, at one point it was like Tuesday morning. Everyone's like, Ketel Marte's the next shoe to drop on a trade. And it's like, we're a week later.
Yeah.
Nothing's happened.
Yeah. So Diamondbacks got home and realized the blunder.
Yeah. It's funny, but we have had a glut of moves. I broke them up into 3 different categories. I broke them up into small signings, interesting signings, and other / good signings, right? We'll barely hit on any of the small ones, go in depth more on interesting ones, talk about the other ones, then get to trades, and then some other stuff to wrap up the show. So I'm going to list out all of the small signings real quick. You guys pick 2 to 3 of them that you kind of like. Just highlight, want to mention real quick. Okay. Ryan Weiss went to the Houston Astros. Alek Manoah went to the Angels. James Karinchak went to the Braves. Mark Leiter Jr. went to the A's. Akil Baddoo went to the Brewers. Hobie Milner went to the Cubs. Colin Holderman went to the Guardians. Lane Thomas went to the Royals. Christopher Morel went to the Marlins. Alexis Diaz and Tyler Alexander both went to the Rangers. So all of those are through. Matt, give me 2 or 3 that you want to highlight.
Yeah, I think Alek Manoah to the Angels is interesting. Alek Manoah was is a former All-Star, and you never know when a guy might be able to kind of find his old stuff again, especially since he's had some injury issues. It's kind of been a part of his decline. I don't think the Angels are typically going to be the team that's able to do that, but you never know. It's an interesting move.
Mike Maddox
now, yeah.
They do have the new pitching coach, so that helps. But James Karinchak I thought was kind of interesting. He's a former really good reliever. I've seen him in bullpens throwing. They've been posting out. He's throwing back in the mid to upper 90s again, like he was back when he was really good. He was a sticky stuff merchant, so we'll see if it's translates to the season. But that's kind of an interesting one. A former big name reliever that's kind of fallen off. But relievers are so volatile. You never know when one might find their stuff again. And I thought Hobie Milner was pretty interesting too to the Cubs. He's one of those guys that you always see a couple of lefty relievers in baseball that just have like an insane year getting lefties out, and Hobie Milner's one of those guys. Like he's one of those guys that could just in a random year have like a 1.5 ERA, and I think that's a really interesting signing for the Cubs. Looks like we lost David there. I was about to push it over to him, but I guess I'll shout out one more since David's no longer with us here, and that is Christopher Morel. I know here's David. He's back. So. David, talk about Christopher Morel and the other guys you were going to pick.
Yeah, it was just Christopher Morel. I like what Morel is for the Marlins, which is just a flyer, right? A guy that struggles with swing and miss, but has a ton of power.
That's a wonderful fit for him.
Yeah,
like
just no pressure at all.
Yep.
The pressure's off, right? He has been through a couple of different seasons here where there is various amounts of discomfort and pressure, and being able to go into free agency, pick the team you want to go to. Miami is very much a Hispanic culture that Christopher Morel is going to fit right into. Yep. He's just going to go and try and produce, play well. He doesn't have to play the field as much, right? He's going to play first base, DH. Like a lot of his struggles, I think, are of the mental variety where if he can get in and focus and he can get into a groove at the plate, that's going to be where you get your best Christopher Morel. The other guy I really liked on this is Mark Leiter Jr., a couple of former Cubs, but Mark Leiter Jr. is a guy who had a 3.55 FIP and a 4.80 ERA last year. Yeah. Like this is, and that's what crashed my computer. I was trying to look up the number. Whatever. Mark Leiter, Oakland, or I guess Sacramento, is going to be a hitter's ballpark, but Mark Leiter Jr. is a really nice middle reliever who has flirted with being a back-end reliever, still got the swing and miss stuff. The splitter is so good, and we've seen how dominant splitters have been over the last, the playoff run here. Everybody was throwing a splitter. Mark Leiter Jr. is throwing a splitter too, so I like the A's pickup here. He's going to fit nicely into the back end of the bullpen, and that's perfect for me.
Yeah,
he might even end up being their closer.
Maybe
he very well could be.
And I'll mention too, David. You talk about Mark Leiter to the A's. That could end up being a pretty consequential signing, or because like that the A's, if they can just find a little bit of pitching, a team could freaking mash last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, if they can find a little bit of pitching, that division is still kind of wide open. Like, I think the Mariners are probably the best team there. They had that run last year, but I mean, it's not like the Mariners are some juggernaut, and the Astros have fallen off. The Rangers aren't as good as they were. Like the Angels are the Angels. I mean, the A's could really make some noise this year if they can just find a little bit of pitching, and hitting on some of those guys like Mark Leiter Jr. is what's going to help that. So I think that's definitely going to be interesting to see if they're able to really turn the corner. So
pitching in that ballpark too, that's going to be
that's
pretty
going to be a
tough.
problem, but
pretty tough. So, all right, let's jump to some more of the interesting signings, and I'll kind of run through this again. We'll kind of do the same thing here. We can kind of go a little bit more in depth on these guys. Cody Ponce to the Blue Jays, 3 years, $30 million. Anthony Kay to the White Sox, 2 years, $12 million. Cedric Mullins to the Rays, 1 year, $7 million. Miguel Rojas back to the Dodgers, 1 year for $5.5. Mike Soroka to the Diamondbacks, 1 for $7.5. Gregory Soto to the Pirates for 1 for $7.75 million. Ahmed Rosario to the Yankees, 1 for $2.5 million. And then Dustin May to the Cardinals. We don't have the money figure on that one yet, but still another one in there. So a couple of those guys you want to highlight, David?
Yeah, I like Cody Ponce to the Blue Jays. Really, him and Anthony Kay both are very interesting coming back from overseas, having traversed over to overseas, adding pitches, adding velocity. Now they're going to come back and see if those results translate. I think Ponce is, the signing got made right after the Blue Jays signed Dylan Cease, right? Like it wasn't but a couple of days after that the Blue Jays knocked this move down to, cemented the rotation. They've basically replaced Scherzer and Bassett with Ponce and Dylan Cease. Like I think that makes the Blue Jays rotation pretty formidable now. And Ponce does really, like we talked about low pressure with Christian Morel. Like Cody Ponce, he can be the fifth best pitcher in that rotation and still be like a darn good pitcher. I love the upside because really that's all it is. They can just insert Jose Barrios if they need to in a starting spot if Ponce really struggles, but I don't think he will. I think he's going to come out there and be really good. And then the other one I like in this group is Mike Soroka. Obviously, the trade to the Cubs did not work out. A horrible move, but through 8 innings right after the deadline. But the stuff, like the idea for the trade was, I thought, pretty good. Mm-hmm. The stuff is still nasty, and the Diamondbacks have desperately needed pitching. We're going to get to another Diamondback signing as well, but they've been willing to spend some money in the rotation this winter. I like that because I still feel like that offense is pretty good. Like we talked about the Marte trade options. Like if they hold on to Marte, the offense is still going to be good. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I like the Diamondbacks picking up pitching here because like that's been their weakness.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I like Cedric Mullins to the Rays. This just feels so much like that Rays signing we see all the time that ends up just being great. I mean, we've seen it so many times with them, these under the radar trades mainly, but just a couple times, every year you'll see a 1 year, $5 million deal that ends up being a 3-win player. And that feels like Cedric Mullins this year. And I agree with you, David. I really like Mike Soroka to the Diamondbacks. I've always believed in him. And I just hope that he's able to stay healthy this time. If he's ever able to put together a full season, apparently I know y'all were saying he's probably going to be starting. I would move him to the bullpen and have him. I mean, they need bullpen help there too. So, but $7.5 million, if your downside is he's a pretty good reliever, that's fine. So, and then I guess since you already mentioned Soroka, I'll throw Dustin May out there too. Dealt with a lot of injuries over the last few years, but before the injuries, he was phenomenal. And maybe a healthy offseason going into next year healthy could maybe he could get some of his stuff back that he was missing last year.
Yeah, I think Ponce is interesting, like David mentioned. The one thing that I do worry a little bit with him is that his last year in the NPB, he kind of got hit around a little bit. Then he went to the KBO and was pretty good over there. But I just wonder if the KBO is the less hitting league out of the two, leagues between the NPB and the KBO. So to get hit around there and then go have 1 year in the KBO to come back, I'm a little interested in that one, especially because that was basically a Yariel Rodriguez replacement. They DFA'd Yariel Rodriguez and outrighted him and then signed Cody Ponce to that deal. When I feel like Yariel Rodriguez is pretty solid, especially as a reliever for them. I would have just rather kept him and let them figure that out. But you're taking a shot. You can't ever fault a team. It's $10 million a year, right? Anthony Kay is the other one. Spent 2 years in the NPB. Looked pretty good. I think this year he won their equivalent of the MVP from it. So still the stuff that worries me, only averaged about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 in the NPB this year. That number is probably going to come down once you get to the MLB a little bit more because they're more of a contact. Or I guess it would go the other way. But if you're not overpowering people over there, I worry that you might not be doing it here. But it's a 2 for 12, so it's $6 million. Can you really be that upset with it either? So I think those are interesting. And then Ahmed Rosario to the Yankees. He went back there. think presumably right now, I could be wrong, that he's supposed to be the starting shortstop until Volpe comes back at least from that shoulder surgery. So that's another interesting one. He's played good in spurts all around. But let's get over to more of the in-depth signings. So first, let's jump to Emilio Pagan going back to the Cincinnati Reds, 2 years, $20 million. Did we predict Pagan in our sheet?
Oh,
we did not.
We did not.
I feel like this was one we probably would have had, though, was at least him going back. And probably we were right around the right dollar amount with the way we were valuing relievers here was right around that.
I would have gone under 10.
Maybe. But anyways, talk about it, David.
Yeah, so Emilio Pagan is a rich man's Mark Leiter Jr. Fastball splitter, right? Like that's Mark Leiter Jr. That's what Emilio Pagan does. But Pagan was the Reds closer last year, racked up a bunch of saves. What you got?
Ha-Seong Kim back to the Braves, $20 million per John Heyman.
Okay.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Let's go.
I love breaking news on the Batflip podcast.
Wait, what is it? 1 year?
He didn't say. It just said 20 million.
It sounds like
I guess it's got to be 1 year,
yeah, it's
right?
got to be
like,
1 year.
Probably 1 year.
Yeah, unless maybe it's 1 year and a player option or something. That would make sense.
I will keep up.
What did he opt out of, Matt?
Was it 18, wasn't it?
Yeah, 1 year, 20 million.
Like
1 year, 20 by Ken Rosenthal. Yep.
Okay.
Well, there you go.
So, breaking news on the podcast.
Yeah.
What did
All
we
right,
have
well,
for you?
we got the Brave. Matt, what do you think?
Well, I mean, Ha-Seong Kim, former really good player for the Padres. Last year he took the 1 year deal with the Rays with coming into the season with the shoulder injury. He really struggled with the Rays when he first came back. Had a down year at the plate, probably related to that injury, if I would think. And he got moved to the Braves. I think he was put on waivers, and the Braves picked him up to kind of give him a tryout, get him in that clubhouse, see what he could be about. And he played really well for the Braves. He's a great defender at short. The Braves need a big leaguer at short. I mean, they've been running out Nick Allen and Orlando Arcia and just whoever else the last couple of years. And after the Linsanity run that Orlando Arcia had in 2023, it was really bad. They badly needed to find a shortstop. And Ha-Seong Kim stabilized that position at the end of the year last year, and I think that's a perfectly fine deal, especially at low risk 1 year. Yeah. And it's a good deal for Ha-Seong Kim because he's getting paid pretty well, and he can test the market next year again if he has a really good bounce back year like he was, like the player he was with the Padres. So I think it's great for both sides. I think the Braves have come into this offseason and they've filled every need that they have to this point, except for probably another starting pitcher. And that's probably where they're going to spend the rest of their money that they have is on another starting pitcher. So I really like the moves they've made. We'll see maybe hopefully this thing goes really well with Ha-Seong Kim.
I think this does kind of fill the main open shortstop spot for where Bo Bichette was rumored. It really might just be Toronto now, or a team that's wanting to move him off shortstop. So I'm intrigued to see how that shakes out after this move.
And I was gonna say, I would have been absolutely stunned if the Braves spent on Bo Bichette after not spending on Dansby Swanson and not really being in on like a Trey Turner when he was a free agent, or some of the guys that have been free agents the last couple of years. I would have been stunned if they had signed Bo Bichette to a huge contract.
Yeah, this made sense all the way. I think we all had. I had Ha-Seong Kim back to the Braves. I think
we all did.
Well,
yeah.
So this makes all the sense in the world. So I like it. I'll just flip us back to Emilio Pagan because we were talking about that. Got breaking news. Love breaking news.
Hey, same money.
I'll always switch it over. Yeah, it's Pagan. It got a lot of saves, and I think that's the main difference. But I mean, he was a little more effective than Mark Leiter Jr. was last year. But I think I'd rather have Mark Leiter Jr. on a smaller deal. If I'm being honest, I think this is a lateral move for the Reds. Right, bringing this guy back at an elevated salary. I don't feel like this deal is quite. This just shows the elevated nature of the reliever market, really. We were talking about that. I think we didn't mention it, but the Pirates spent $8 million on Gregory Soto. Like that's a lot of money for guys who have just in their career have not been nearly as effective as some of the guys we're seeing getting flyers in this same section. So I'm fine with this deal. I love this deal as a Emilio Pagan fantasy owner. But for the Reds, I mean, they need more than just retaining their closer. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on that. I mean, Emilio Pagan's always been a guy that had some pretty good swing and miss, and the home run ball has not been too kind to him at times. But surprisingly, in Cincinnati's ballpark, he wasn't. He's really kind of found himself a little bit, and pretty good contract there for a high end middle reliever type. I would say probably about the
Even though he's going to close.
What's that?
Even though he's going to close.
Well, I mean, just the value of him is middle reliever. Like that's what I would consider him on the open market. So that kind of makes sense. Now, a team that has a crappy bullpen might have him as the closer, but he's a middle reliever. Like we're going to keep saying that he's a middle reliever.
He's a middle reliever in the closer's role. Yeah,
exactly. But
yeah, he's. I've always felt that way about Emilio Pagan too. Probably a pretty solid setup middle reliever guy, but don't put him in as your closer. Reds seem to be doing that, but whatever. Another team who we might not like it, but we never doubt them is the Tampa Bay Rays signing Steven Matz to a 2-year, $15 million deal. Matz was pretty good last year, especially after the trade once he went to Boston. Didn't strike out enough people after that, but I just never doubt the Rays in these situations. They're going to figure out a way to make him either some all-star closer, or if they trade someone from the starting pitching staff there's been rumors they're in Ketel Marte for maybe trading Ryan Pepio and some other name too for it. They'll just throw him out in the starter's role and he'll be pretty good too. I just never doubt the Rays in moves like this.
Yeah, I don't know enough about this move. Matz is fine, but knowing the Rays, right? He'll end up in a starter's role, or he'll add 5 miles an hour and all of a sudden be striking people out with some change like that. Those are the kinds of things I'm expecting. But in a vacuum, this move is a very vanilla move for me.
Yep. A couple things on this deal. The Rays typically look for a guy that has a very good skill set, and then they build their usage of them around that skill set. Steven Matz hates walking guys. He had 11 walks in 76 innings last year. So that's going to be a big thing for him. And I'm going to be very interested, too, to see if the Rays try to start him. Because, he's a career starter, pitched out of the bullpen in all but 2 games last year. I would assume those 2 games last year were probably like opener type things. Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they use him. But, I think it's a fine signing. Like I said, Emilio Pagan was he's a middle reliever that's masquerading as a closer, but he's a 2-year, $20 million, $10 million a year. Steven Matz has just got a little under that as a little bit less proven of a reliever that maybe doesn't have the same kind of swing and miss stuff. I honestly like the Steven Matz signing better than Pagan at the number he got. So very good signing, I think, for the Rays, and they'll figure out a way to utilize him, and he'll do pretty well there, I think.
Yeah. Let's jump to a couple of Tigers moves. I want to bring the other one. It's down a little bit lower, but I want to bring it up. Kyle Finnegan re-signs to the Tigers, 2-year, $19 million. Got traded over there at the deadline last year to become their closer with Will Vest. Was pretty decent for them. They changed up some of his pitch usage. I think made him more 50-50 between the fastball and the splitter a little bit. Was pretty good after that. So he re-signed with the Tigers, and we're like, all right, well, he's going to be a closer again with Detroit. Well, Detroit then turned around and signed Kenley Jansen to a 1-year, $11 million deal with a club option for 2027. So Kenley Jansen now will become the saves person there, as he is 24 saves away from 500. So he's going to try to get to that number. For sure. That's a number that's really important to him. So in a vacuum, David, Finnegan and Jansen to the Tigers there to that bullpen.
Strengthening up a weakness for sure. I think Finnegan after the deadline was really, really strong. It makes you wonder. The Nats really struggled to unlock Kyle Finnegan, but they kept slamming him out there in the closer's role and having him throwing like 60-70% fastballs. And the fastball is not his best pitch; it's the splitter. Stop me if you've heard this before. It's a guy who throws fastball splitter. We talked about 3 of them already in this episode. Finnegan is he's getting less than Emilio Pagan is crazy for me. I think that's a good deal for the Tigers. I think Finnegan probably could have gotten up to 24, 25 over the 2 years if you were, bidding on him, but it seemed like he wants to return, which I like. And obviously, Detroit has a good plan for him. The Kenley thing is interesting, though. You mentioned that Kenley wants to go for 500 saves. I don't think he's the best reliever in this bullpen. I think it's Finnegan and maybe Will Vest, right? So, yeah, or one of those starters that they, Horton and some of those other guys that have been kind of moonlighting in the bullpen and as a starter over the playoff run there. I think Detroit's got they'll give Kenley some of the easy save chances, but I think that bullpen's going to kind of operate in a conglomerate where the best pitchers for the best matchups will just pitch. Kenley will get some 20 or so save chances, and they'll try to bring him back.
I don't think Kenley's signing there unless he knows he's the closer. That's been very important to him throughout his career. That's just something that has always been a thing with him.
We'll see if that makes any impact then, because I don't think he's the best option there.
He's still been a pretty solid reliever.
He's effective.
Yeah, he's not bad.
The cutter is cutting.
Yeah. I think with Kenley Jansen, he's 38 years old. He had the worst swing and miss of his career last year.
Yeah.
He was under a strikeout per inning for the first time ever. And I mean, the underlying numbers on him were not great. His fastball, his velo was not great. He wasn't getting chase. His walks improved a little bit over what they had been. But, when you see some of those signs from a 38-year-old reliever, I think teams showed some restraint by limiting his market, because back 20 years ago, if you saw a guy with Kenley Jansen's profile, he had a 2.59 ERA last year. He's getting like $20 million for a 1-year deal or more, with today's money. And I think that, I probably wouldn't have signed him to that. That's got disaster written all over it. Granted, a 1-year deal is never a disaster. But I think that Kenley Jansen to the Tigers here, he's going to add some veteran leadership. They've kind of lacked just a guy in the back end of that bullpen the last few years that's kind of a veteran piece. He's steady. He's going to be out. Like, if you need to get somebody to slow their heartbeat and go get a save, they haven't really had that guy. It's been a problem because they've had really good relievers that come into that they move into the ninth inning roles that don't do well in the ninth inning roles. So I think that's a good place for Kenley Jansen to be. I think also that ballpark, Kenley Jansen gets hit a lot of fly balls, and that ballpark is very good if you for pitchers own fly balls, because it's hard to get homers in Comerica. And then Kyle Finnegan, I think, was just a perfectly good signing, good setup guy. Had a great year last year. I'm definitely on board with the Kyle Finnegan move too. So, I probably, if I was going into the season as a team, Kenley Jansen being my closer would scare me a little bit. But it's still a 1-year deal. It's not a big deal. And if he has a bounce back and has a good year, you get a chance to get him back next year for probably pretty cheap. So, I think that part's good too.
Not sure if we've seen the money on the option yet.
Yeah.
I will see. It's like a,
probably similar.
10 million. Tigers are giving him 1 million to pull it off.
I don't know what the buyout is on it. That's probably the main question. If there is,
it doesn't say yet, so that'll be something we'll have to talk about later. Let's jump to our next one. I think Matt and I talked a little bit about this on the Robert Suarez breaking news episode, but that is Mike Yastrzemski to the Braves for a 2-year, $23 million with an option year in there as well. So, David, let's get your thoughts, because Matt and I kind of gave it in that episode.
Yeah, I think I like it. Yastrzemski's been decent, but hidden in San Francisco's ballpark a little bit, right? Big kind of cavernous place. He's older, right? He's like 32.
35.
35, actually. So this is a try to find some magic late in their career, but the Braves did this pretty well. Nick Markakis had him, go off for his best career year just a couple years before he retired. So, I think overall the fit is fine. They need another righty masher to kind of platoon in there with Harris and Profar playing, the lefty guys in the outfield and DHing and stuff. And I'm guessing this might close the door on the Marcell Ozuna return.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Yeah, and like we talked about the other day, and in the quick flip show, I think this is a great signing. Mike Yastrzemski is very high on the list of fly ball hitter guys that hit a lot of fly balls and pull the ball a lot. And the Braves, if there's a weakness in the Braves ballpark, it is that right field corner. And I think Mike Yastrzemski could feast on that right field corner next year.
Yep.
Yeah, Mike Yastrzemski hits lefty, and I think that
Flipped him in my mind there, but
yeah, he definitely could feast on that right field porch. So I'm in favor of this signing for the Braves. I think the money on it's not no money. And I think it might be a little bit more than people expected from Mike Yastrzemski, but I think it's a good move. They got a club option on the end of it too, which is always good. And I think that if you look at Mike Yastrzemski as kind of a platoon guy that can help fill in that DH role, play the corner outfield when you want to give one of your corner outfielders a day off. Profar is pretty bad in the field. Yastrzemski's a lot better than him in the field, so you could have Profar DH on days that Yastrzemski's playing. You could have Acuna take some days off. Yeah. It adds some versatility to your outfield. I really like that. And you mentioned Marcell Ozuna. I think the days of the Braves having a full-time DH are gone. I think that they really want to rotate some guys, especially with Acuna's injury history. The Braves have two catchers that can really hit, especially, Sean Murphy can really hit lefties. So you could have him in there as a DH on days that Drake Baldwin can catch, and you can have Mike Yastrzemski sit against lefties, and Sean Murphy can just DH. I think that's an option you'll see some. I could see Ozuna coming back on a really short deal for little money if his market doesn't ever materialize. I think he really enjoyed being with the Braves, and it was a good fit for him in the clubhouse and everything. But I'll be surprised if the Braves bring him back.
Sure. Before we move on to our next one real quick, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe on this video. We're having an off season here. We've been pretty good with numbers wise here. We want to keep growing this platform. So help us out. Drop a subscribe on this video. Drop a like for us. If you're listening on podcast platforms, come over to YouTube and give us a like, comment, subscribe over here too. So we will really appreciate it.
Yes.
Now let's talk about the next move. This is one of the funniest baseball savant pages if you ever look at it. And this is Tyler Rogers to the Blue Jays on a 3-year, $37 million deal. Because he is first percentile in fastball velocity. He averages $83.5 million, or $83.5 million, 83 and a half miles per hour. He'd be great if he averaged that much, right? He is in the first percentile in whiff percentage, 8th percentile in K percentage. But then everything else is basically as red as you can possibly get.
Yep.
Wise. Ground ball rate, hard hit rate, barrel percentage, walk percentage, average exit velocity, expected ERA. Like, he throws submarine. This is the Chad Bradford, basically, if you were a Moneyball fan. But it's the most hilarious baseball savant page to look up because it's like everything anti what you want a relief pitcher to be in this day and age is Tyler Rogers, basically.
Yeah, I love the funk. I love the submarine aspect, but the results are there for Tyler Rogers, right? Lots of guys throw funky, but the best thing I've seen, and I won't delve into this too much because I think the 198 ERA last year speaks for itself, right? I mean, he's been excellent across the board the last couple of seasons as a back-end reliever, but despite the velocity, right? But the thing about Tyler Rogers is that he has the most severe negative arm angle, so he throws from like the lowest possible angle in Major League Baseball. Trey Savage throws from the most over-the-top angle in Major League Baseball. So they have almost 180 degrees of separation. If Trey Savage comes out of the game next year and they go to Tyler Rogers, it is the widest possible gap between arm angles for the pitch to come out of. I love that. That's so unique and it's so fun.
Yeah, which I will say, Tyler Rogers is also one of the most durable pitchers. Mm-hmm. He had 81 appearances last year. That's basically half the season. So
toss underhand every time. I mean, there you go.
Yeah. Anyways, Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, I like the signing plenty good. I think the one question you have about this is just that profile of reliever in the past has fallen off pretty quick at times. But you've also had guys like Brad Ziegler and Darren O'Day that threw sidearm or submarine that lasted a long time too. Yeah. So it's probably a little more volatile. It's not quite as sure of a thing as you might see, like with some of the top relievers on the market, like Edwin Diaz or some of those types. So I do really like this move for the Blue Jays. I think he's very, very good. He's been good for a long time. It's very unique. It's one of those things you just don't see very much anymore. And I think that's important. I think it's something that like hitters just aren't used to it. And, back in the day, just about every team had one of these guys. And now it's kind of, it'll probably make a comeback from his success to a certain level. But it's kind of like having a knuckleballer that can control it a little bit. And you just, that, nobody's going to see it, but just when they face you. So right. I think it's a good signing, and the money's not huge. He's honestly getting paid less than, some of these other guys that have worse numbers than him because of that profile. So it could end up being a very valuable signing if he can continue to pitch at the level he's pitched at the last couple of years. I mean, 11 or what is like 12 million AAV or something, 12 and a third. Yeah. Like, I mean, that's way less than some of these two or sub 2 ERA types that we've seen sign over the last few weeks, where they're getting $23 million,
Yeah, in a vacuum, I'd rather have him than Ryan Helsley. And
absolutely.
Yeah, Helsley's making $2 million more. Like, yeah,
it is going to be interesting. Toronto was obviously one of those teams that were in the high level closing pitching market. They were in on Edwin Diaz. They were in on Robert Suarez. We've heard a little bit about with Pete Fairbanks, but not after the Tyler Rogers signing. It's going to be interesting to see if they are just sticking with Hoffman there, if they go more committee-based, what they do, because they do have some guys, Hoffman, Yimi Garcia, now Rogers, Louis Varland. You can kind of mix and match your way through with those guys, or if they just go guaranteed, hey, Hoffman, you are the closer moving forward.
Wonder if Louis Varland is warming in the bullpen.
He might be. He might be still warming up.
He warmed every single game in the playoffs.
Every single one. Let's move on to the next one, and this is Danny Jansen signing a 2-year, $14.5 million deal to go to the Texas Rangers. They non-tendered Jonah Heim at the non-tender deadline, so this leaves Danny Jansen and Kyle Higashioka as the two catchers there in Texas now. So, David, what do you think about Jansen going to the Rangers?
I sure do think about it. This is about all I've thought about it. This is a massive. Danny Jansen's one of those, like, he's just a very average catcher. Like, even when we were talking about the catcher market last year, it's kind of funny to me that the Rangers have now ended up with both Jansen and Higashioka. They were two of the four that were on the market last offseason. So, I mean, it makes sense. They needed a catcher. The position was really – Heim's issues were throwing based, I think. He was just really – he could not stop runners from running. And he didn't hit last year, even though he had hit, in the World Series year. But I'll be interested to see where Heim lands. Jansen, the Rangers, is very much a net neutral move for me. Like, they got a catcher. It's not somebody who's particularly special, but it'll solve the need for now.
Yeah, that's about all I've got to say about it too. I mean, it's fine. I don't. Danny Jansen's StatCast page is not very good. I'll probably add that. He doesn't look to be he had around a league average year last year at the plate. Had a 103 WRC plus. His StatCast page says no to that. So, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's not a lot of money. He's a fine veteran catcher. You've got two guys that are basically the same player there, and Higashioka and Danny Jansen. We think one of them's going to have a fine year, they're neither one of them are going to be superstars. You're not going to find the next William Contreras. You're not going to find the next Will Smith. You're not going to find out of those guys, but you got two perfectly fine catchers. One of them's going to be good enough. So,
yep.
It'll be interesting to see how they, especially divvy up the playing time there between the two and how they're doing. Because that ballpark too, it's actually turned very pitcher friendly.
Yeah, it flipped.
Next one, which is I think one of the more interesting ones. It was one of the most polarizing ones when it happened because people were like, "Really?" So Jorge Polanco signs with the New York Mets for 2 years, $40 million to become their first baseman, Jorge Polanco, who is a career shortstop and second baseman, I think moonlighted at third a little bit.
Yeah.
Is now going to be the full-time basic first baseman for the New York Mets after they lost Pete Alonso. I don't hate $20 million per year for Jorge Polanco. I thought he had a good year in Seattle. I don't think I would have signed him to be my primary first baseman trying to replace Pete Alonso's production if I were the New York Mets. I simply would have just paid Pete Alonso a little bit more money to come back.
But they should have done what I said they should do, which was sign Alex Bregman and play third base, move Vientos to first base.
They might still do that.
Vientos is in trade rumors. You still could go sign Cody Bellinger.
Vientos is bad. Like, I don't know.
He's in trade rumors anyways.
Yeah.
You could go sign Cody Bellinger to be your first baseman if you really wanted to. Like,
probably still could sign Cody Bellinger.
You could. I
feel.
You just don't know how Polanco's going to fit there at first base. He's also not your prototypical like first base size. He's like 6 foot on a good day, probably.
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting to see, like, especially for a team that we talked about during the Marcus Semien news. They're prioritizing defense, especially infield defense, with the Semien and Lindor up the middle, and then you sign Polanco to be your first baseman.
Yeah.
Like, I think Polanco's a fine player. Don't get me wrong. I think he's going to hit. I think he'll be just fine. This is like a Eduardo Escobar is what I'm trying to think of, type player to go there and play for them. I just don't like the fit as being your everyday first baseman, basically.
Yeah, I don't either. This works. This makes a lot of sense if that Semien-Nimmo trade never happens, right? Polanco goes to play second base, and that makes a ton of sense. Get some coordination with him and Lindor up the middle. Like, I feel like it would have worked way better. Like, I don't know. This feels reactionary. Is what it feels like. It feels like the Mets tried to go out of the box and have gone all the way back to making a dumb move, right? Like trying to do something like trying to go over this, like a David Stearns Milwaukee, like let's sign a guy to do something that he doesn't usually do, Clay Holmes type deal. But it's circled all the way back around to, what are we doing? You just said Pete Alonso. Why don't you pay Pete Alonso? He's better than Jorge Polanco in every single conceivable way at first. But even if Polanco's a reasonable defender at first base, I'd rather have the bad defense of Pete Alonso and the bat, the guy who hits 40 home runs a year and is popular with the crowd and is going to sell me jerseys. Like, what are we doing here? Like, I like Jorge Polanco. I think, but the Mariners fans love Jorge Polanco.
Yeah.
But like, you can't replace Pete Alonso with Jorge Polanco. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in a similar boat. Like in a vacuum, 2 years, $40 million for Jorge Polanco is not a bad deal. I mean, he's a good player, had a great year this year. Maybe overperformed just a little bit, but I mean, his StatCast page is pretty good, and he had his expected, like his projected numbers for this year are pretty good. He's always been a solid player. He cut his strikeout rate in half last year was kind of the big thing that he did, which was really good. But as you mentioned, I just don't think Mets fans are not going to accept losing the guys that they lost in this offseason, and then Jorge Polanco being your big signing. I mean, and also, that Marcus Semien trade, like, you're right. It makes no sense because, first off, Brandon Nimmo is a good player.
Yeah.
And you traded for a guy who's really not been very good the last few years, who's on a huge contract, even though I think it's getting close to a couple years left on it.
3 years left.
Like, it doesn't make that much sense to me. And then you're looking at the outfield for the Mets right now, and they've got, obviously Juan Soto, he's good, but they've got listed on Fangraph's depth charts, they've got Jeff McNeil playing left, and they've got Carson Bench, who has never played a major league game, as their starting center fielder, and if not him, Tyrone Taylor. So, like, why are we signing Jorge Polanco and not signing I agree with you. Sign Cody Bellinger, have him play center field. They need outfielders. Their outfield is bad, and their infield's not great. I mean, I know Francisco Lindor is great, and I know they really like, they feel like Brett Beatty made some good improvements, and I don't know I guess they still like Vientos, so I don't really agree, but yeah, I think they're very I don't know. I don't know where this is going. The thing about the Mets is that they've taken enough money off the books at this point. They've got a lot of money out there, and like you mentioned, Cody Bellinger's out there, Bregman's out there. I think they're going to sign some guys. but it's definitely not the easiest off season right now for the old
Mets.
David Stearns and Steve Cohen and all the Mets guys.
Yeah, so I wanted to look it up real quick. It says in 2025 in Seattle, it has him listed at first base for one game, but 0.0 innings. So that's his career. That's his career stuff at first base. It doesn't have
was it like extra innings when the other team walked it off or something on the first?
I
that has
don't
to be
know.
it, right?
I have no idea. Not even a third of an inning at first base apparently in his career, but it has it listed for one game. That's his career at first base.
Yeah. I feel like if their roster stands as it is now, he ends up DHing and Vientos plays first.
You know, like it must have been like what you said. He must have came in defensive replacement and the other team walked it off or something. That had to have been like they lost it that way. So either way, Jorge Polanco's a fine player. Fit. Mm-hmm. It fit for how they're putting. Not great. Now, if they sign Bregman, maybe play Bregman at first, and Polanco can play third. He's done it before.
I think that was his unequivocal worst defensive position.
I'll say if they sign Bregman,
but I would trust Bregman at first more than I trust Jorge Polanco.
Yeah, but Bregman's a lot better third base.
I'll say Brett Beatty's not great at third. I mean, he's better than he's better than maybe he was advertised as a prospect or he was at first, but he's not great. You could probably move him to first, but. Polanco's playing first, it sounds like. I mean, that's what they say.
Yeah, that's what they said. This is going to get a lot of that New York media scrutiny.
Oh yeah.
It's a decision for sure.
This is going to get
1,000%
bad.
All right, so let's jump to Merrill Kelly, going back to where he always was in Arizona. 2 years, $40 million to go back to the Arizona Diamondbacks. It's a perfect fit. I think we said at the time when he got traded that like, hey, he's a free agent. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go back to Arizona. Yeah. I didn't put him there. I think I put him to like the Orioles on our sheet. David had him to the White Sox. Matt had him to the Orioles as well. For right about the same number. Yeah, I think you said 2 for 40, Matt. You said 1 for 20. Got the AAV right at least. It just felt like this was of course going to happen. It's a perfect fit with that rotation. Not having Corbin Burns this year, you have Ryan Nelson, Eduardo Rodriguez, Brandon Pfaadt, Michael Soroka. Merrill Kelly's that, hey, you know what you're going to get from him every single day. He's going to go out and give you a good start.
Might even be my opening day starter if I'm
probably.
I just
at the moment, yeah.
He's a long-standing vet. You know, he took the trade in style. I like the return to where you've had your most success. Yeah. I like that. I think that doesn't happen as much, and we kind of predict it to happen more. Talk about it like, oh yeah, this so-and-so left this organization and now wants to return. I like that it happened here. It makes a lot of sense. And it was on my list of things to give Merrill Kelly, but I kind of was just the White Sox got to sign somebody, right? They got Anthony Kay. I wouldn't have expected that. So there you go. I like the steal, like it from Merrill Kelly. The Rangers, man. What a trade that was. Three pretty decent pitching prospects for a guy they had for half a season, and now he's right back where he was again.
Yeah. I mean, my thoughts are the same as yours, David. I think Merrill Kelly's that super consistent number 4 guy in your rotation, a good rotation. In this rotation, he's higher up than that. Now, granted, I mean, they've got money paid to an ace right now that is not pitching because he's hurt, but there's a lot of good with Merrill Kelly and here, and I think they'll probably. Hey, I would not be shocked to see Zach Gallen do the same thing either. Like I just wouldn't be shocked to see that at all.
At this point, I'd be a little shocked since they signed Soroka. I think Gallen probably isn't going back.
Well, they still need. I mean, right now their rotation includes.
No, Damien just listed it. It's Nelson, Rodriguez, Pfaadt, Kelly, Soroka.
I mean, they need one more guy because.
Yeah, but
I don't think you can count on Eduardo Rodriguez and Brandon Pfaadt because I think one of them could be good. I think both of them have the potential to be good, especially Pfaadt. I mean, he could figure it out, but he's got pretty good stuff. He's young, he could figure it out. But I think you just can't go into the season relying on those 2 guys in their middle of your rotation where if they don't perform, it's going to really hurt your team. I mean, So you can always kick Soroka to the bullpen to start the season, and one of those guys doesn't perform, gets hurt, then you can bring Soroka into the rotation and send one of those guys to, to the bullpen, or, if they get hurt, while they're on the injured list, stuff like that. So
I think they've come to say they're going to take the pick from Gallen and they'll go sign some other depth starter.
Yeah.
The big elephant in the room here with the Diamondbacks is the Ketel Marte trade. And apparently they are targeting major league pitching for Ketel Marte. So that could be where they go and get it, right? We've heard the Red Sox with Early and Toyle been in there. We've heard the Rays with I think it was Baz and Pepio.
Yep.
We've heard those teams with it. The Mariners even have been in. They could get one of their younger guys, a Miller or something else from that. Like, that's kind of where they need another starter. That's the big elephant in the room right now is what are they going to do? Because it does sound like Ketel Marte is going to be traded. If you believe it, if you think he should be or not, it sounds like it's going to happen though.
Everyone's saying that. So
yeah, I think the clubhouse stuff is a real thing that came out last year, and they have guys like they want to give Jordan Lawler more playing time. They want to give Tim Towell more playing time. They want to give who's the other infield prospect I'm trying to think of? Tommy Troy. That they want to give those guys a little bit more playing time, and Ketel might be the thing, and that opens up money, right? We know their owner has dealt with money stuff too. He doesn't like bad money on the thing. You might be seeing this as a way to get out of it. Blaze Alexander is the other one that I was actually trying to think of that plays infield too. So something to watch for. All right, one that just happened today, actually. Dolis Garcia going to the Phillies, 1 year, $10 million. I think this is a great move. I don't even hate $10 million for the Phillies. They're going to be a team that pays a lot of anyways. This is a guy who is a 20-plus homer bat basically every single year. He's going to play an okay outfield for you. But if you're replacing Nick Castellanos with Adolis Garcia, then outfield defensively, I kind of feel a little bit better about it. And him getting out of Texas, which has, like we mentioned, flipped to a very pitcher-friendly ballpark and going and playing in Citizens Bank, I think that's a great move. And again, it's a 1 year, $10 million. There's no risk in this move at all. It's basically the Max Kepler deal, but for Adolis Garcia. Yep. And I would take Adolis Garcia 10 times out of 10 over Max Kepler.
Oh yeah, this is a slam dunk. In terms of, it also changes the attitude, right? That gives them a guy with a little bit of that swagger. The
postseason performer too.
Yeah, postseason performance. We're flashy colors, a lot of those types of things. That this Phillies group is tight knit, well oiled, good and coordinated, but it just they need a little bit of that energy, the extra energy in there from a guy like Adolis Garcia. Fresh start for him. I love this deal. I thought he was a very intriguing non-tender by the Rangers, where it makes sense for the Rangers to non-tender him. He hasn't been all that good, but I believe in the bat. I just believed him for a long time. I think there's a real possibility that hitting seventh maybe in this lineup, sixth, seventh.
Yeah,
like he's really gonna. The pressure's gonna get off, and he's gonna succeed well. We deserve to lose subscribers for that.
I had to.
Hey, Joe Buck. Joe Buck started the Monday Night Football broadcast tonight with a 6-7 joke because the Miami Dolphins record is 6-7, and I'm already not here for it. So, but Adolis Garcia, I don't necessarily agree with y'all fully on that on him. This feels like a guy who had his couple of year run as an unheralded prospect who bounced around some, figured it out. His numbers last year were not good. His numbers year before last were not good. That's a 2-year sample of him not being good at all. He did improve defensively last year back to kind of his norm, which is pretty decent in the outfield. But I just don't. I mean, it just feels like a guy at 33 years old. I don't know. I mean, $10 million though. I mean, for the Phillies, it's not that big of a deal. So I do agree with y'all on that. If the downside of it's not huge, but I don't feel like paying him. I don't think he's worth $10 million this year. I don't. I mean, but we'll see. I mean, you never know. He's at least interesting. So because he's been good before, but I don't think I don't really like this signing very much.
He's going to the third best ballpark for him via like Statcast expected home runs.
Yeah.
This is the third best ballpark in his career. So I like the fit here where Philly's not very right-handed. It's just it feels like a solid fit. And I will say this does probably spell the end of Nick Castellanos in Philly, where they eventually just cut him here, or I don't think anybody's going to eat the contract. I think they're just going to cut him.
No, you'd have to eat down that. I think that's what, 20 million.
Yeah.
So I mean, even if you got it down, would a team take Nick Castellanos on for 1 for 10 right now? If you ate $10 million?
No.
He might get.
So
he might get like a 1 year, $2 or $3 million or something.
Yeah.
At this
What
point.
Justin
what I'm
Turner
saying
got
in trade
6 last year?
in trade wise, if you're gonna have to eat it down, if it's 20 million, you'd have to eat 10 to 15. That's what I'm trying to like point at. So if that was the case, you'd be looking at Adolis for basically 1 for 20 in that aspect. Yeah. But I think it's a great fit personality wise with the ballpark. I think Phillies fans are going to love Adolis Garcia too. He's the type of player they really would rally after. So I think it's that. All right, so let's get to some of the trades because there are a couple interesting trades that I know we want to talk about here. Then a couple other smaller ones. So let's start with Boston and Pittsburgh. And this is going to be the trade of botched names because I couldn't tell you how to say half of these names. I got Johan Oviedo going to Boston. Tyler Samaniego, I don't know how to say that. And Adonis Guzman going to Boston. For Pittsburgh getting the Password, which is his nickname. I'm just going to call him Password.
I got the
pronunciation guide.
It's Justinson.
John, there you go. Garcia.
Justinson Garcia.
And Jesus Travieso. This is a really weird move. I like the Password a lot. Going to Pittsburgh. I've been kind of higher on him than a lot of other people have been, especially after reading this trade. I think it's a great move for Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. Oviedo is not particularly good. I don't know what they particularly love in Oviedo. I wouldn't trade him for Password straight up. So I don't know. I just don't know how to feel about this. It's not like a major league, like, hey, this is 2 superstars for each other, but it's like Oviedo's a okay middle reliever at this moment, maybe starter, and Garcia Password has a ton of potential to be an everyday player in the outfield.
Oh, Oviedo is a starter, and Oviedo is really interesting. It's a guy that's coming off of injury with a lot of really nasty stuff, good off speeds, 95-mile-an-hour fastball. He struggles with command, right? That's his big issue. And Pittsburgh's pitching development group hasn't been particularly good at honing in command, but Craig Breslow has famously been pretty good about honing in command. I think back to when he helped Yu Darvish in 19 with the Cubs go from, let's just not walk anybody anymore. So I think this is let's target a guy with our dearth of outfield players. Garcia's not going to play over what we have right now and go get a really intriguing arm that, you know what, maybe he is a long reliever, right? But he's a long reliever with filthy stuff. And I think that is a downside for Oviedo is a perfectly fine prospect acceptance for Garcia, because I just as much as you might like Garcia, Damian, you don't like him more than Duran or Abreu or Roman. He's not. Where's he going to play? he doesn't have anywhere to play.
No,
So
I mean,
it works for me.
I agree that he probably isn't able to play in Boston. My thing is, if you were going to move him, I would have moved him for not Johan Oviedo.
A better pitcher? Yeah. Maybe.
That was my gripe. I get Boston having to move him because you have too much there. I didn't like the return to Boston for trading Password.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Damian. I don't know. Johan Oviedo is interesting. He's got pretty good stuff. I think if you did move him to the bullpen, it could be really valuable. This feels like one of those trades that does kind of make sense right now. but if you just kind of look at it in a vacuum, but in 5 years might look really bad.
Yeah.
Where you just kind of feel like you kind of just gave away a guy who ends up being a good big leaguer for a guy who's just a middle reliever at best. But Oviedo's got pretty good stuff. You never know when sometimes guys find the command out of nowhere. Like
organizational fits.
We've seen it before. I think that obviously for the password going to Pittsburgh, he's going to get a good shot to play there. He's got some offensive upside. If his hit tool can kind of continue to get better, he's got all the other tools. He's got the power. He's got the speed. He can play good defense in the outfield. Like he's got everything to be a really good player if his hit tool can just get a little bit better. So I think that it's a good trade for the Pirates and for the Red Sox. A guy that's blocked. If you hit on Oviedo, then I think it's good, even if the password ends up being really good. But if you don't really, even if it is a mismatched value, but I don't know. I don't love this deal for the Red Sox right now.
Yes. And we're not going to sit here and act like we know much about any of the other three prospects in this trade. So
I'm not going to get into it.
we're pretty honest with when it comes to that stuff. So let's move over to the Seattle and Washington one, because I think this set a precedent for what the price is for controllable left-handed relievers at this moment, which we've seen 2 trades that have kind of blown us away. That is Seattle acquiring Jose Ferrer from Washington for catching prospect Harry Ford and pitcher Isaac Lyon. I do like Ferrer. He's a power lefty. I liked him a lot in Washington. He was a name that when the Dodgers were looking at bullpen arms at the deadline, I was like, hey, I wouldn't mind if this was one of the guys you went and got. A ton of control there. Now, that said, I wouldn't have traded Harry Ford for him or a subsequent level of prospect for Jose Ferrer. But it also seems like for Seattle, right? They have your catcher of your future. You have Cal Raleigh. You don't have a place for Harry Ford to play. Washington, new regime in there. They want to get some of their guys. They're down with Kyber Ruiz. You trade a relief pitcher who you're getting ready to start into a rebuild as well. When's he going to have more value than right now? And you get a good catcher for your future.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why Harry Ford's out here getting moved for a reliever. I mean, he's really good now. He's obviously blocked in Seattle, but like I just don't know. I would have traded him for somebody else.
I don't think Harry Ford's got the same value as where he's getting ranked right now. I think there's a lot of questions whether he's going to be a catcher. Now in Washington, he has a chance to go. It can't get worse. Keeper Ruiz was really bad defensively as a catcher. If there's an opportunity for Harry Ford to make some adjustments with the challenge system coming in, this is a good opportunity to do it. It's a good reset for him to get defense. He's athletic, right? I think that he's definitely got a career as an outfielder. The hitting, like the offense, seems like it'll play. I don't think he's quite the like star upside player, but if it's as like an outfielder, I don't think Harry Ford's a particularly interesting prospect. But as a catcher, he's a very interesting prospect. So Washington can take him and give him some, work with some growing pains, right, for the next couple of seasons and try to develop him into a really good catcher. So it's a better fit there. I'm a little shocked that the Mariners pulled the trigger on this trade, but at the same time, I think that our perception of Harry Ford as the former first-round pick, who's top 100 prospect, maybe that's a little overblown with what he really is. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I get it, but I think you could probably get more than a reliever for him. I mean, but that's just me.
Sure. I will say, if you look at Ferrer's splits, home and away, much better on the road than he was in Nationals ballpark. The peripherals this year they're a lot better than his 4-something ERA was, and you're going to one of the most hitter-friendly ballpark or pitcher-friendly ballparks in Seattle. Like, there is a very real possibility where he turns into an elite back-end relief pitcher in a year. This year. I mean, he could do it this year, right? And then it doesn't look as bad for you, especially if you're getting a guy who has I think he's 5 years of control, 4 or 5 years of control, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So, and if you like I said, if you have a guy blocked, it's kind of like the same thing with the Pittsburgh and Boston trade. Like a guy's blocked, he's not going to play. You trade him, you might trade him for something else. I tend to like Ferrer in this situation where I didn't like Oviedo. So I'm kind of flipped based off kind of how you guys were feeling to that trade.
I like the get from Mariners, by the way.
Yeah, I don't think I would have done this trade exactly, but I understand why it happened, and I like both players going to their new places. Value-wise, might not line up exactly. But.
And that's, I think, a little bit of this is the only way to pry these guys with tons of control away from the other team is to blow the other team away with a prospect that they really didn't feel like they would get for said player, right? And I think that a lot of that is what's happening here. Pittsburgh didn't have any need to move Oviedo. Washington doesn't need to move Ferrer, but when you get offered a really good prospect like that, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, let's do it.
Yep.
So,
all right. So the next one's a little bit of a smaller move, but I know Matt definitely wants to talk about this one, and that is the Angels acquiring Vaughn Grissom from the Boston Red Sox, piece of the Chris Sale trade from the Atlanta Braves for a 21-year-old outfielder, Isaiah Jackson. Didn't seem like he was going to play much or really have. I mean, he's an A-ball outfielder for the Angels, basically now going to the Red Sox, where this just feels like it's a buy low. It's what the Angels have been doing all offseason, right? Bought low on Grayson Rodriguez, bought low on Alek Manoah, buying low on Vaughn Grissom. You're going to hit on a couple of these eventually, right? You would think. And maybe they find something there with him. I don't know.
Yeah. All I got to say is for all the great moves the Red Sox have made over the last few years, rebuilding their farm system and adding a ton of talent, getting back to the playoffs, that trade of Chris Sale for Vaughn Grissom was one of the worst trades I've ever seen. Seriously, like it was pretty crazy that happened. And I mean, Chris Sale has been maybe the best pitcher other than Tarek Skubal in baseball for 2 years now. I know he spent some time on the injured list last year, but Paul Skeens. But he won the Cy Young in 2024, won the Triple Crown. Like, I don't know, man. And then they gave up on Vaughn Grissom pretty quick. Now I will say that I think the front office in Los Angeles with the Angels right now is Perry Minasian. I think he was with the Braves when they drafted Vaughn Grissom, so there's some familiarity there. But I didn't. I didn't get. I don't know. I don't have many thoughts on this trade specifically. But
you traded Chris Sale for negative 0.7 WAR. So there you go. There you go.
Chris Sale's been worth like 12 WAR as a Brave.
Yeah. You traded Chris Sale and you got negative WAR. That's basically all that needs to be said about that trade. All right, let's move on to the last trade that we have to talk about. That's another lefty reliever getting moved for a pretty high price here. So the Kansas City Royals acquire Isaac Collins and Nick Mears from the Milwaukee Brewers for Angel Zerpa. I think Zerpa also has, that 3 or 4 years of control, kind of like Jose Ferrer did. Isaac Collins is a guy who was a breakout this year for the Milwaukee Brewers. He's a 28-year-old outfielder. Another 5 years of control, had 122 WRC plus, almost 3 WAR this year. This just felt like trying to cash in on a guy that you didn't think was – maybe he's not repeatable. Like the metrics there don't look great on Collins, but still it's kind of hard to trade that. And then Mears is just another middle reliever that you are kind of getting off of and getting more control because I think he has like 2 or 3 years of control left.
I'm so glad Nick Mears is out of my division. Dude, he's so annoying. Like that guy was so nails in the playoffs. And he came in, it was like, oh, finally, Mizorowski's out. And then this Nick Mears guy's in there wiping the Cubs out. I was so frustrated. I was like, oh, finally, somebody they might be able to hit. No. It works for me. Collins was annoying this year too. I don't like this trade from the Brewers' perspective because I'm really glad both of those guys are not facing my team 12 times next year, like straight up. Like Zerpa might be something they want to start him. This is a advanced analytic way past my pay grade type of deal from the Brewers. I don't agree with it, but that's what the Brewers do is they try to find those weird like options that everybody else is undervaluing and whatever, man. Just go for it. Get these guys that I don't like watching out of my division.
Yeah, I don't understand this at all from the Brewers. That scares me because usually when I don't understand what the Brewers are doing, it works.
Yep.
Such as their Devin Williams trade a couple years ago, and like I didn't think I thought that was kind of weird, but it worked. So, I mean, I feel like you're trading two guys for a player that is, on the field has performed worse than both of the two guys you're trading, and the two guys that you're trading have a lot of control. I believe Mears is a free agent in 2028, and Isaac Collins has only been in the big leagues for like a year.
He was a rookie.
He's a rookie this past year. He was a 27-year-old rookie. And granted, I have seen the StatCast pages aren't great on any of these three, and I don't know what they see in Zerpa. He throws hard from the left side. I mean, that's got value to it. I just don't. I don't know, man. I don't understand what the Brewers are doing here. But like I said, I sat up here and I trashed the Brewers in our season preview of them last year.
Yeah.
And just talked about how horrible they were going to be, and then they ended up being like the best record in baseball in the regular season. So I'm not going to trash the Brewers. The Brewers know what they're doing. They're going to win the division again this year because that's what they do. So that's but I don't understand. So I never will.
No, they just do these things. It's the Brewers and the Rays. They find a way to always do these type of things. So, we'll see. So real quick before we head out, we want to talk about some of the posted players that have signing dates upcoming. So from the KBO, Sung Mun Song has a December 21st signing date. He is the second baseman, left-handed power hitter. He hit like 30 homers or close to it over there. Profiles as a second, maybe third baseman here in the major leagues. His signing date is December 21st. Haven't heard really much about most of these guys, to be honest. But there was a report the other day that it sounded like even Song didn't have many contract offers, and maybe a return to the KBO was probably likely at that point. We'll see what happens. We didn't hear much about Ha-Sung Kim until he signed last year. Munetaka Murakami is December 22nd. We've heard of a few teams in that market. Interesting to see. That could be another name that maybe the Mets try and do at a first base or something. I wouldn't be surprised there. So we'll see. Tatsuya Mai is January 2nd. He seems to be getting a ton of play, especially from the New York teams, maybe a Philadelphia even. Seems like he's going to most likely be an East Coast team. The West Coast teams don't seem to be really involved. The the Padres don't seem like they have the money. The Giants haven't been really willing to do that. You guys are playing up there, moving yourselves around. So
I don't know what's going on. I feel like we're playing the hat game on the Jumbotron at the ball game. Like
where's Tatsuya Mai going? Which hat is he under? Who knows? Find out on the next episode of the Bat Flip Podcast.
It betrays me every time.
Yeah. There you go. So Tatsuya Mai, we'll see the January 2nd. He's probably going to be the biggest deal out of all of these guys. And then Kazuma Okamoto and I forget Takahashi. Is it Hiroto Takahashi? I could be wrong on that. They both have January 4th signing dates, so that will be right after the new year. They have to sign at least. So most of these guys typically take up until that last day, that deadline, like we were talking about earlier. Usually prompts action. It could always happen before, but I doubt it will happen before those days, especially unless maybe it's like one day before or something. But any of those markets that you guys have seen develop or you want to talk about real quick?
I love Imai. I think Imai is going to be maybe the best free agent starter that gets signed, and he's come out and said he wants to beat the Dodgers. I've been characterizing as he hates the Dodgers. I don't think that's the case. I think he wants to beat the Dodgers with their crew of Japanese guys. He's very competitive. Love that. That's a guy I think everybody should want on their team, especially given what the Dodgers have right now. So it's really exciting. Here's hoping he is able to, get signed. I guess we're waiting for the new year, basically, for him. So Maybe he'll get something done before then, but I kind of, like you said, I doubt it.
I know very little about these guys' markets right now. I haven't really followed too closely with it, but yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. Is it Murakami's first, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're not
Song
counting
and
Song. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're back-to-back days, so.
Yeah, I'm gonna be very interested in Murakami and seeing what kind of contract he gets. I don't know if he's so young, he could get a 6 or 7 year deal, but
I think
never know.
I think that would be like Shodi Minaga's deal. It'll be a
shorter
like
term,
a 2-year with a
I don't
club
think so.
option, and then you have like a team option or like a vesting option on top of that. Something creative is what
I don't know
I'm
what kind of acid Jed Hoyer was on when he wrote that deal up, but somebody's going to be on it when
it worked.
they write this deal up.
It worked great, and then they offered him the qualifying offer.
Yeah.
I do think that some team gives Murakami a longer term deal.
Yeah, I think he'll get it offered to him, but for a lower AAV, and it'll be interesting to see whether he takes it or not.
Yeah, I mean, there's the thing is you have to give him time to develop, right? We talked a little bit about it, but there's a lot of also false stats going around the internet right now about his numbers hitting velocity. Don't always believe that, but
I would categorize him as not good against velocity, but like, he's a major league caliber player. Like he'll be able to hit the baseball.
And
it's not like he's just going to get up there and not hit it.
He's still very young where he can develop.
Yeah.
Very much so. So anyways, we'll probably have some sort of breaking news for those guys if they do sign. But anyways, I guess we should have talked about it before. Are we going until after the new year?
Yes, I believe so.
Or all the way after the new year? We're going to take 2 weeks?
5th?
Yeah, it's going to like that January 5th, that Monday is probably going to be our next show because we got, Christmas stuff for everybody and New Year's stuff. And
We'll be back for breaking news. Watch out for the Quick Flips episodes.
Yeah. I have a feeling we'll have a couple trade Quick Flips episodes in that time too.
Can I say something before we finish up here?
Absolutely not. We're signing off now. See you guys later.
Well, I'm gonna say it anyways. I don't know how I feel about Ha-Sung Kim. He didn't give a 1% to the Braves Foundation.
Oh,
the press release came out, and I don't know what's going on. Is he just a scumbag or something? Does he hate the kids? I mean, come on, man.
Goodness.
He probably donated. He probably gave it up last year already, but I don't want to.
Did he give it up?
I'm just joking. I like
did he give it up on his
Kim,
opt out?
Maybe he did. I don't know.
Maybe on the opt out. Maybe he saves himself some money there.
He
gave 1% on the opt out and then just didn't do it on his big contract. So
there you go. That's how it's
that's
done.
Smart business move right there.
Yeah.
You think he went in there and like Scott Boras went in and was like, "We're not giving $1 million to the Braves Foundation, Alex."
Yeah.
It's 1%.
He's probably saying he probably did, and he's just not putting it on the press release because they wanted to keep it up.
It's a PR win for Scott Boras.
PR, they're trying to actually help kids or something.
It's a PR win for Scott Boras, but a PR loss for Ha-Sung Kim.
The way Scott Boras likes the dad joke puns, there's no way he hates the kids. There's just no way.
I think he's the first free agent of Scott Boras is that Alex Anthopoulos has signed. That's got to be what it is.
Dude,
Scott Boras is not letting 1% go to the kids.
I will need to try.
I like Ha-Sung Kim.
I will need to try to look it up, but we might need to have a Quick Flips episode on just Scott Boras puns.
No,
because that man, I don't know how he does it every year. I don't know how he does it every year.
He writes it up.
That man does it. The one he did for Cody Bellinger was it was A tier. That's all
he does is sit there and think of this all season when he's not watching baseball and he doesn't care, and you've noticed that he doesn't care after the way he's treated markets the last few years. So
we'll see. Anyways, this went really off the rails here at the end, but thank you guys for tuning in. Like we said, the next official episode of the Batflow podcast will be January 5th. We hope you all have a Merry Christmas and a safe New Year, and we will catch you guys back next year, technically.